This is Algebra 1.5c, Section 11.1, Quadratic Equations. So there are three forms of quadratic equations that we're going to discuss. The first is general form. General form is any equation in the form y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. So the a, the b, and the c you would fill in with different numbers, but the x and the y would always be there. Vertex form is any equation in the form y equals a x minus h to the power of 2 plus k. So the vertex is going to be the ordered pair h, k. Like what we did last chapter, h is how many spaces you would go to the left or the right. In this case, it would be to the right because there's a positive number. And then k would be how many spaces you go up and down, and in this case it would be up because k is a positive number. But you could switch this to a minus, and then k would be going down. You can switch this to a plus, and then h would be going to the left. And then factored form is any equation in the form y equals a, x minus root 1, x minus root 2. The roots are where the graph crosses the x-axis. So the roots are the x-intercepts. The first example says, consider the graph at right, identify the roots, then write an equation in factored form. So the roots are right here and right here. Again, the x-intercepts, so where the graph crosses the x-axis. So in this case, the roots would be x equals -4 and x equals 0. If I write that equation in factored form, that would be x minus -4 becomes x plus 4. And I can say x minus 0 because it's a downward facing parabola. It opens downward. It has a negative in front. Now, if you want to write this in simplified form, you don't need to put the minus 0. You could just put an x because x minus 0 is the same as x. Letter B, identify the vertex, then write the equation in vertex form. So the vertex is going to be here. The coordinates of the vertex are -2 and 4. So if I write the equation, that is y equals, again it's negative because it's a downward facing parabola, x minus -2 to the power of 2 plus 4. If we look at the where the vertex is, from the origin we went 2 to the left, which is why it's a plus 2. And then we went up 4, which is why it's a plus 4. Our last example asks us to solve 3 equations. So, whenever we do these in class, we always start with the line at the equal sign. The first thing we want to do is get rid of this plus 8, and we're going to do that using a minus 8 on both sides of the equation. The plus 8 and the minus 8 cancel, and x squared is left on the left. 108 minus 8 is 100. So now we have x squared equals 100. To undo a square, we use a square root. The square root of 100 is 10. But it's not just 10, it's also -10. Because 10 times 10 is 100, and -10 times -10 is 100. So what you'll notice on all of these quadratic equations, when you solve them, you should have 2 answers. If you can envision this sort of graph, our parabola would be x squared plus 8, so it would be 8 units up. And if we wanted to know when this graph crossed at 108, there'd be one answer here, which would correspond to our -10 answer, and there'd be one answer here, which would correspond to our positive 10 answer. So next one. Since the square is on the outside of the parentheses, the first thing I'm going to do is the square root. So the square root of 49 is 7, but again it's not just 7, it's also -7. The square root here eliminates the square, and that leaves us with x minus 6. So I'm going to add 6, and when I add 6, I actually have to do it to both of the answers over here. So x equals 13, and x equals negative 1. 7 plus 6 gave me the 13, and negative 7 plus 6 gave me the negative 1. Our last equation has a lot of stuff going on. The first thing I want to do is add 10 to both sides. Those 10s would cancel, and I'm left with 5x minus 2 squared equals 57. Next, I will divide both sides by 5. Then I want to do the square root. I'm going to square root on both sides, and that will cancel the square here. So I have x minus 2 left on the left. 11.4 square root is 3.38. Then I'm going to add 2 on both sides. And again, when I add 2, I have to add it to both answers. So x is 5.38, and it's also negative 1.38. That is it for the notes for section 11.1. Good luck with the exercises.